day before Thanksgiving in 1971, a man identifying himself as Dan Cooper bought a plane ticket from Portland to Seattle. He hijacked the plane, claiming he had a bomb in his briefcase, and demanded $200,000 and 4 parachutes. He jumped out of the plane with the money and the bomb somewhere over the Pacific Northwest, never to be seen again. The FBI claims to have investigated over 1,000 people, including dozens of deathbed confessions. In 2016, 45 years after the hijacking, the FBI suspended its investigation of the case. While the FBI is no longer looking for DB Cooper, there is a community of people who are trying to solve the case on their own. Welcome to the Cooper Vortex. In this episode, we are lucky to be joined by a very talented writer, author, broadcaster, TV host, entrepreneur, and wheeler and dealer of memorabilia. I had a great time talking with him, and I hope you enjoyed this episode with my good friend, Darren Rovell. When was the first time you heard about DB Cooper?
Well, it's interesting. Let me just answer that by saying that I think I am the person who asks the most people about whether they know the story about DB Cooper. And it's very interesting how some people know and some people don't know. And then some people say, oh, he's the guy who. So then they'll be reminded, right? Um, but it, I I probably would say as late as 2014. And what's interesting about it is I feel like I fall in the range of 2014 because, hey, I grew up in Long Island, New York, right? We were in this provincial world and say until let's say 2000, right? So if I wasn't on the West Coast, I felt like I didn't really have a chance. I was born in 1978, so it was 7 years, after, right? So 7 years after I was born. And so I feel like a lot of East Coast people didn't really have a chance to know. Obviously, the movie was in 1980. I was still young. So I think there's a group of people who are 60 to 70 who know, right? Because of the movie with Robert Duvall and everyone. And then there really wasn't a chance, I believe, from 1980 to 2000, again, when the internet comes out, to really learn the story of DB Cooper. There weren't documentaries, there wasn't Netflix. And so then it's when do you find out? And I don't really have a point when I found out. I don't remember, oh, I saw this. But I would say it was sometime in the last 12 years. And then obviously then watched everything and became obsessed with it.
I should challenge you on your claim that you ask the most people, have you heard about DB Cooper? But I'll just let that one slide for now. When did you really, when did this case really pique your interest, especially from a collectibles standpoint?
So the way I collect stories, and I think things become valuable for me when I believe there are stories to tell, and I believe that you can get unique items. The collections that I have are JFK. That story, I believe, will last forever, and the assassination. I'm probably a couple items away from being the best JFK collector in the world. Titanic, again, will for the rest of time always be a mystery and intriguing. Um, Throw in OJ Simpson. I think that's also going to be so I've collected that as much as I can. DB Cooper and Escape from Alcatraz. And those are pretty much the ones that now I collect sports and everything else, but those are the ones that I feel will be relevant for all time and that my children will learn about and know. And from a collector's standpoint, that gives me comfort that throughout the generations, the stories will never end.
Okay, quick sidebar. What the hell is there to collect from the Alcatraz escape?
There's pretty much one thing. It's the FBI posters of the three guys who escaped. So the Anglin brothers and Frank Morris. So I have two sets of them. I actually just sold one set, the fingerprints one with the autographs. That's pretty much all you can get. I wish there were more.
You know, I did an episode that Frank Morris was DB Cooper.
Oh, yes, I do. I do. And, Frank Morris being the Mensa member that he was, how they slinked out through those holes, and how they probably hit the exact right time. I do believe that they did survive.
And when did you first acquire your first piece of DB Cooper memorabilia? Was it that first bill that you had?
It was the first bill, the small little bill. I did not hear about DB Cooper in '08 when I think Brian Ingram sold a bunch of them on Heritage when they were running in between like 2,000 to $6,000 a bill. And so it must have been like 2020, 21, so maybe 3 years ago. Um, and I bought that little bill, that little piece for $8,400, and maybe 6% of a dollar for or $20 for
It's
80.
not much bigger than a quarter, right?
Yes, yes. And that was a great value to me because again, there's just only so many, and PCGS does a great job in labeling exactly what it is and has the picture of Cooper, and I loved it, but I needed more.
I see you recently sold that.
I recently sold that. I think it sold for like $19,600, which is not really any sort of credit to me, but I think it's a credit to, the intrigue and the amount of people that are interested in the story.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely agree with that. But like you said, you required a better bill, so you got rid of the old one. Can you tell us about acquiring the bill you currently have?
There's only so much I can say because I agreed to only say so much so that we add the mystery on top of the mystery. But essentially, I had a couple people, I searched out for a couple people, and I think you probably know some of these people who are DB Cooper files who know where things are at and where parachutes are buried. And was able to make a connection with someone who had a larger bill. I know that Brian Ingram, for the right amount of money, was going to sell the Star bill, which didn't mean anything to me. I just wanted to try to get the largest bill that was available. And the person I met with did not want this to be public. Met him in a public place, and the hard part for me always, and I think this is an intriguing story for your listeners, is what do I offer? What value do I offer? And I think I probably could have got the bill for much cheaper than I did. But when I'm Darren Rovell, a collector, someone who stands for the industry, and I am sitting before you, I pretty much have a duty to offer you what I really think is fair market value. And that could screw me a little bit. But if I'm behind a computer and I'm on eBay or whatever, well, then I could come up with whatever I want and I don't feel guilty or anything. I had to come up with a number knowing I was now going to sell this much smaller bill, that number that I was paying him could not be less than what I thought the mini bill would sell for. And I'm
Okay.
I'm I'm proud to say that it wasn't, and I'm sure that guy thinks because he even said to me, he says, "Wow, that's a big number." But I'm confident down the road as more and more people learn of this story, and there's just only so much you can collect that these pieces are going to be more and more valuable.
If I found a box that had $6,000 of Cooper money that was whole, Do you think that money would be less valuable because it doesn't have the
Yes.
mystique of the Tina Bar money?
Yes. Uh, it looks like it's a mystery, right? It's like the way it is shaved down. And by the way, it's part of the mystery. How the hell? Now, again, that money is such a part of the story, right? Like, how would if it was the original money, right? If it was money that had fallen when he died, if he died, how would it not be completely disintegrated by February 1980? Right? I mean, like, okay, I guess the Columbia River it's not hot water, um, but you would have a hard time believing that over 8.5 years that there could be a bill that was still like 70% good. And the rubber bands and like how would they still be together? So that provides an intrigue because obviously the story is, well, maybe he didn't die, and maybe as a decoy he threw it in the Columbia River. And as crazy DB Cooper people know, it wasn't really in the direction of where they thought he would have landed. Right? So like if it flowed down a river or flowed somewhere else, that even gives you more pause to be like, how the hell would these all still be together?
Do you have any theories on how the money got to Tina Bar?
All I know is I think he did survive. Now, when you talk to a lot of people, they say, you know, Pacific Northwest is literally the worst. I mean, in terms of like you're gonna just fall into a tree or a mountain or the jagged edges. There's no way you can survive. And obviously, he didn't perfectly plan things out. Um, but I'd like to think that like 5 years later, 8 years later, whoever this guy was having a hell of a lot of fun and was like, "Damn, I hate that they're still not talking about that. Let's put the story out there again." And and put something out there, and maybe it was out there for a year or two before it was found. But I'd like to believe that as a conspiracy lover.
I agree with you 100%. And I think your thoughts on the Tina Bar money versus if my magical $6,000 I found that's pristine is dead on. If I had a choice between a bill similar to the one that you have now or 20 of the other 20s that are in perfect condition, I would still pick a Tina Bar bill because it has that extra allure to it.
Yeah, we don't have video here, but just it has like just the shaving of the White House essentially, and it obviously has, just the front of it. It is just so perfectly mysterious.
It's
Um,
absolutely amazing, and I encourage you to push pause on this right now and go check out Darren's X or Twitter, where he's got a couple shots of it on there, and it's really incredible.
And the fact that it has almost two full serial numbers, the one on the right hand upper side and the left hand lower side. The thing about the small bill still had almost the full serial number. I like that. But this is just magnificent. The crazy part is that after I bought it, he had only had it in a screw down holder that had been there since the money was found, essentially. Now, I don't know if this is true or not. Did you hear about the draft
No,
of the money? So essentially, when Brian Ingram found it, the what I had been told was that the FBI took a couple pieces, and then there was essentially, for lack of a better word, a draft between the insurance company that provided the money to Northwest and Brian Ingram. And so they went back and forth on the quality of bills and which ones they would take. And the
that's
insurance,
interesting. I knew the division of the money, but I didn't know it was like, okay, you take that one, I'll take this one. That's
right.
funny.
And apparently there were the it's interesting because now there's another bill that's in Heritage. Did you see that one? There's a new bill that's coming in Heritage auction, And this was from a DB Cooper author who must have been in the 80s, sent a book to one of his books to someone about DB Cooper and just enclosed a bill for free. And that person had it, and that person's consigning it. It's not as good as mine, but it's pretty close. And I think it's going to sell for probably north of 35,000.
That's a lot for a $20 bill, a piece of a
Yes.
$20 bill.
Yeah, yes, it is. But listen, I have the other bill that I have is maybe the only other bill that can showstop this one, which is I have a bill from the pocket of Ernest Tomlin, who was a third class passenger on Titanic. And when the ship was going down, he sewed his pockets. And when they picked him up 5 days later, they saw he had materials in his pockets and they took it out and they buried him at sea. I have the letter from the White Star Line that says we have buried Ernest at sea. Here's the latitude, here's the longitude, and we have returned the items that were in his pocket to the family. The family consigned that 1899 silver certificate, and I have that too. So I'd like to think I have, two really remarkable pieces of money that compete against each other.
If you could have a different piece of memorabilia or collectible from the DB Cooper hijacking, other than the money, what would you go after?
Well, so I have Bill Mitchell's ticket.
I
So
was going to bring that up as well.
that to me, and it's hard to find the order, but Bill Mitchell's really important for a variety of reasons. Uh, Bill, according to at least his account, was the last guy on the plane. So when all the passengers except DB got off the plane, the FBI said his name first. They were going from people who got on the plane last to first, thinking that the hijacker would be last or near last. And they said Bill Mitchell, and then they said Dan Cooper. So that's important to me. Two, it appears like, at least in the for most of the flight before he was asked to move up, that he would have been the closest and across the way. And it's so intriguing to me to hear some of his stories that he told, which is, I spent a couple hours with him, and the story he tells of him being jealous because uh, he DB was getting all the attention from Flo or the flight attendants,
From
right?
Tina Mucklow, yeah. Why is
From
that geeky
Tina.
old guy getting all the
Yeah,
attention from her when I'm
yeah,
sitting
from
right here?
Tina. Yeah, and he's a 19-year-old University of Oregon student. That's pretty cool. So I had found Bill Mitchell through a Oregonian story. I think they first really wrote about him again in 2000, which is interesting given how I just shared the timeline of how I think people found out. And it was his kids, I think, that mentioned something, and it must have been maybe it was 2001 because it would have been the 30th anniversary of DB Cooper. And I told the story a lot more on my Twitter/X. Um, and I wanted to get the ticket. I knew he had it because I went to MC an event for Michael Phelps's charity, and the person who works with Michael Phelps on the Michael Phelps Foundation um, is named Stacy Beadle, and Stacy's maiden name is Mitchell. And after I MC'd, I came down from the stage and she said, my dad is Bill Mitchell. Didn't really ring a bell for a second. And she said, he was on the DB Cooper flight. And I'm like, oh my God. And that really helped because I think Stacy had been following me for a while. Her family had followed me. She'd been in sports. And it gave me kind of, I think, an inside edge and a trust to get the Bill Mitchell ticket. It still took a really long time. And the reason for that is because I feel like Bill had like reverse PTSD. I felt like he needed to hold the ticket for as long as he lived on this earth because it was connected to him. So you would think like you'd be part of a hijacking. You'd be like, no, I don't want to hold the ticket. He did not know he had the ticket for years. Um, his mother saved it, and when his mother died, he was surprised to find it. So he didn't know that it existed. And for the first couple negotiations failed. Most of them were over email. And then I went to see him in Washington, and he still wasn't ready. And I said to him when I saw him in person, I need your affidavit. I need for you to say exactly what happened. I want people to be able to read your story. And I want you to tell me your story, write it down, and I want you to sign it in front of a notary. And if you really want the true value of this, once you're dead, I'm not going to pay your kids as much as I'll pay you. And we left, and he said he'd think about it. I again offered him what I would think would be a larger number than if he would have auctioned it off. Again, because it's me, it's about my ethics, and I promised it was for me, that I wasn't going to just consign it to another auction. A couple months later, he said, "Hey, I was thinking about it. I know you're a storyteller. I know you love DB Cooper. I'd love for you to have it. Let's do a deal, and I'll go on vacation with my million grandchildren, and we'll call you during the trip and say thank you." And so that's pretty much how it went down. I got both the ticket and the envelope. Now, what's amazing about the ticket is if you look at the DB Cooper FBI file ticket, you can look at the handwriting, and the handwriting is exactly the same handwriting as Bill's. So going up to the counter, filling it out, instead of Dan Cooper, it says W.M. Mitchell. Um, and it's nicely stamped in the red, Portland, Oregon to Seattle. The 305 is there, and his student ticket, which is $13. So that's there. My problem is PSA wouldn't grade it because it wasn't autographed by Bill. And Bill's a citizen. They wouldn't know what his autograph is anyway. So on the ticket folder, on the actual ticket folder, which one would argue is better than the ticket itself, the incredible stamping of 305 and the November 24th, 1971 in an old style stamp with Seattle written and Gate 50C and the time 220, as everyone knows, circled forever. I did get Bill to sign the back of that. So I had shown PSA that it was him. I had shown his ID, and they were able to put that in a slab. But the ticket is now in this lucite container that just makes me very nervous. One more thing. I'm sorry I'm so long-winded. It was nice when Nancy's ticket, what's Nancy's last name again? I forgot.
Ooh,
Nancy.
I don't know that one off the top of my head.
So Nancy sold her ticket in Golden recently, but it was a Braniff ticket. It had the Braniff branding on it. The fact that all these have Northwest, Orient, it was important to me. So anyway, so have the ticket case, the envelope, and the money, and I'm searching for more.
Speaking of grading, I was looking around your X page in preparation for this interview, and when you posted a little clip of you with your new bill and putting it in its new container, there were a bunch of people pushing back, like, why would you get this graded? It doesn't need to be graded. And I was like, of course it does. It
Of
adds
course
to the
it does.
provenance.
Yeah, of course it does. Now, I was very nervous. I started to explain. I was, it was in that screw top for a long time, for probably 35 years and maybe 40 years probably. And screw tops were something that gave security to a lot of people back then, but they've been known to be bad. People put their Michael Jordan rookies in there. And the way it's screwed down, it presses against the item in there and often creates something. So I was really nervous for what was going to happen. Could more of it disintegrate in this transfer? And there was a little piece that fell off the edge, but fortunately, most of it was there. And then, I didn't really need to tell PCGS much because they had already affirmed and had a label for the DB Cooper money, and I did attach just in case they had any question, because it was a new bill to be graded. The dossier of all the numbers, and you could see that the serial number matched it.
Do you think if this case is solved that it would impact the value of the memorabilia?
Uh, No, I think if it was solved, the person's not alive. If it was solved and the person was alive, then I'd be in trouble. I feel because that person would then uh, avail themselves, sign autographs. Who knows? Maybe they had their item, right? Like I'm playing a pretty safe game in that I have one of the best bills and I have Bill Mitchell's ticket. If the guy came out and said, I on his deathbed, like so many, and have said, I am the real Dan Cooper, and let me prove it to you, and I have all the evidence, and I have all the parachutes, and I have my ticket, and this is, I, I think that would, be difficult. But I do believe that in what Bill has said, in that he was older than the drawing um, suggested, and he probably was pushing 50. And you think 50 years old, you think, okay, if he was 50 years old in 1971, 61, 51, okay, he could have been a parachutist in World War II. He could have even been a parachutist in the Korean War. He even could have been a parachutist in Vietnam. To me, he would, if he was 50 and 71, you know, he's not alive today. Because
He's not
I would,
alive today.
no. And so that would be the only thing where I would think, like, if someone could really steal the spotlight, he wouldn't be alive today. So that would be, unless someone had his stuff, that's the only thing greater than what I have right now.
Right, because if we find out tomorrow that it's Tom Johnson, then there's a hunt for anything that belonged to
Correct.
Tom Johnson.
Correct. There's photos, yes, there's other things for sure.
Do you have a favorite suspect in this case?
I think all of them have flaws. All of them don't. I have not found, and Bill has not found the perfect person, and I still think that person has not been like. I think what you'd have to do is, I have a problem with the age, with the turkey neck. I have a problem with. I think when if we do finally find that person, it's going to be a family member who is going to say, I don't want you to find this out. In other words, who would be protective of, I don't want you to, not my relative is Dan Cooper and I found out. I think we'll know when someone says, I think it's him. I don't like that his name is, this is not something that our family takes with pride. And I haven't really seen like that reaction. When I see that, just like as a journalist, I think that's when I'd be like, okay, like maybe that's the reaction that is more real than some of the other people who have, with pride, stormed to the forefront to say that their character is DB Cooper.
Why do you think so many people have confessed to this?
It's a fantasy, right? You're the greatest uh criminal who is not necessarily a criminal, right? Like no one died. It allows you to be like open. It's not like you're a murder suspect who's coming out and is saying I killed all these people. There's really nothing to lose, right? If you say I'm Dan, other than you have there's fame and glory, and I think it has everything that someone who's a good liar wants to convince someone that they are.
It is a little bit more of a guilt-free collectible than an
Yes.
O.J. Simpson thing.
Yes, the OJ Simpson. Yeah, the OJ Simpson thing, I have his the interview VHS signed by OJ, like if I did it. And I have one of the tickets from the Knicks game that night from the NBA Finals, Game 5. The Probably the craziest thing I have is from the Goldman family, so at least, they got paid in some way for it, but it's F. Lee Bailey's book on the excellence in cross-examination, and it's signed, "It ain't over yet, OJ, F. Lee."
That's
So
pretty good. That's
I
pretty
don't,
good.
I don't have any gloves or anything too crazy or any blood or anything like that. But yes, I do think OJ is going to be talked about forever.
Do you think DB Cooper's bomb was real?
I was going to ask you that question as well. I'm going to say no. But I have not studied, there was a rash of hijackings in the 60s and 70s, and I have not studied. Maybe that would be a good question to ask ChatGPT, just in case you don't know. I have not studied what percentage of the bombs were actually real. Do you know, like during that time, anything about the reality of the bombs?
I think there was a good mix of real and fake. Probably a lot more handguns than bombs, but I know like Richard Floyd McCoy had a
Yes.
dummy hand grenade, and
Do you like Richard at all for the back to back, and he just got caught the second time?
as someone who grew up Mormon, I love Richard Floyd McCoy. There is no part of me that believes he's DB Cooper.
Right, right,
His story is amazing. It's exceptional. The whole thing is a crazy, wild story. The prison escape,
right.
all of it is amazing. We don't need to add and attach this one more thing that he probably didn't do to make his story good.
He also doesn't really look like the drawing.
He doesn't look like the drawing. He's only a handful of years older than Tina. She wouldn't confuse
Yeah.
him for someone that could have been her father.
Right, right, right.
It just none of that makes any sense to me. I don't like Richard Floyd McCoy as Cooper, but his story is incredible. They should make a movie about his story because I would love to watch that.
I actually think it's time for another remake of the movie. I mean, we're coming up on, 50 years. That movie should be remade. By the way, I've never seen that movie.
The Pursuit of DB Cooper
Uh-huh, never
with
seen it.
Treat Williams and Robert
Yeah,
Duvall.
yeah.
It's terrible. The only thing that's even remotely related to DB Cooper is during the opening credits, he jumps out of a plane. The rest of it, he's on like this high-speed chase with like some hot woman
So,
that
it,
gets
so
in
it's
a
it's
truck with him.
completely like just made up garbage.
Oh, 100%. And
Yeah.
it's sort of like a Dukes of Hazzard kind of thing with Robert Duvall being the sheriff that's trailing him. It's
By
it's
the
not
way,
very good.
I forgot to say I do have some other Northwest items that I have got over time. I have a timetable that is good for that is was redone in October 71, so it has Flight 305 in it. I actually have a pilot's handbook that was active, a humongous pilot's handbook that was active during 71 with a list of all the emergency airports and where to land and all that, which I think is a pretty cool one. And I know there's in Portland, I think the DB Cooper bar has like this massive plane. I do want to commission the two sets of planes that have come out that are like collectible planes are just way too small. I would love to be able to get, 172 size or, something that is substantive. Would love to commission one of those.
I have a handful of Northwest Orient stuff that mostly fans have given me, but as far as my DB Cooper collectible I like the most has nothing to do with him, but at an antique store I found this box of Raleigh cigarette coupons.
Oh, that's cool. Do you have a So I have a full pack. I do have a full pack.
Oh, very nice.
It's an unopened full pack. I do have that. I also got someone to make me the exact replica of the tie with the FBI tagging on it. So I have that. Um, so there's that, and I have some small planes for display. So I have the Raleigh cigarettes. I do need a bourbon, a plastic bourbon somewhere, right? Or an old fashioned, whatever he was having. Um,
That's so debated. I'm not
oh,
sure
you
I know
don't
the
think he was
exact
having a
answer, but
drink?
it's like
Oh,
I think it's a bourbon and soda, but what
right.
bourbon would it be? It's some probably some bottom shelf, whatever the airline had that week.
Wild turkey. Yeah. Yeah. Um, and then I do have, and I can get it if you want to pause. I do have Bill's entire letter to me that I could take you through if you wanted.
You should post that on your X if you can,
Yeah. 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 I, I
because I
I'll
know a
do that.
lot of people that would really like to see that.
Yeah, his mother was freaking out because they were saying on the radio that the plane was circling, um, and that there were boats in the water to collect the bodies. Uh, and they were circling around the water to dump fuel, and so his mom was obviously, hysterical. Um, Meanwhile, Bill didn't know what was going on, even other than it was supposed to be a 30-minute flight and it was, entering hour number, what, two or three.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so yeah, so that's what I have. I've tried to get tickets to sporting events on that day. I have not been able to get a real full paper from that day, which is interesting because, you can get a gazillion papers. The Titanic still exists. What's funny about it is that from 1971 to 2000, it really was just a Northwest tale, in the Northwest. Um, it was not something that was known across the country, so there would be no reason why someone in the Pacific Northwest would save it other than for themselves. But it is interesting when you think about collectors and you think about people who do not give something up. There's a reason why, you know, the Nikes, all these old Bill Bowerman waffle Nikes come up because the people in the Pacific Northwest and their compost piles and their garages full of stuff that they never get rid of. Like, you would think that there would be, one great full paper of a Oregonian that was never opened up, but I have yet to find one. So if anyone listening here has one of those or has a lead on one of those, I need it.
I've thought about that a lot too, like how many people in the Pacific Northwest had a small DB Cooper collection, let's say, of magazines and newspaper articles and books.
There had to be because for the tale of that, even to an 8-year-old kid is so exciting, you know? I mean, but again, I have a paper, my best paper I have a paper that I recently got that is the Dallas Morning News the next day after JFK was shot, and it's half opened. It's still rolled from the paper boy, and it was only opened, and you see the words "by assassin," which is so cool. I would just love to, you think about moon landing, you think about JFK. There's so many of these papers, and I just have yet to see a complete paper from November 25th, 1971.
What do you think happened to the rest of the money?
I would like to think he survived and he used it, which is which is interesting, right? The reason why the FBI marked the bills would be to see if he used it. But that's such a hard thing for a bank to nail someone on. The only reason why So they started doing this because they were able to nail Bruno Hauptmann, who was the Lindbergh baby killer. And they did that they had out of date type of bills. I think they were retiring this form of bill. and they gave him like old bills that were still in use. And the only reason why he was caught through the money is because he used the money. He was stopped at a gas station and was acting very weird. And so on the money, the attendant wrote down his license plate, and that led to Bruno. And then they said, "Oh my God, this is the money that we've been tracing." I don't think anyone would have noticed if he used the money. Now, we haven't seen it circulate from a bank, um, but fantasy in me says he used the money. Now, how the hell are you ever gonna like? Wouldn't it be great if you could find someone who was poor and then all of a sudden rich?
Yeah.
How do you do that? That would be if you could find he was poor right before and rich later, bought something that was crazy that, but how are you going to do that? How are you going to get the a record of that? That I would like to think he used the money
Why is this case still unsolved?
because no one died other than him potentially. I think cold cases come up and people really care when a kid or a woman or a father or a relative has been killed. That's what motivates law enforcement. And just like Escape from Alcatraz, if no one died but the people who were perpetrating the so-called crime, it's technically like victimless. And so the prize of DB Cooper, while we think it would be a prize to figure it out, the prize amongst law enforcement is much less so because it's not like you're going to have a crying family member in your arms saying thank you. Yes, you would be part of a history book and part of legend, but it's shallow compared to the amount of cold cases that are out there and the crimes that could be solved with people who actually died.
Do you think this case will ever be solved?
No, no. I do give a lot of credit to um, guys like Ryan Burns and the people who are like you doing this just so tireless. And I wonder if it were to be solved, how it would come out. Again, my speculation is that if a story would to have lined up, and if a person indeed looked like DB Cooper and had all the markings, the neck, and probably fit the profile of how old he was. And I think the family would say, please don't say please don't say this and let's hold this back. All of that together, I think it would be interesting, but you'd have to have some pretty good records of life before and life after. Where, if he survived, where did he live? Did he was he anything close to Dan? Was his name Dan? Was it anything close to Dan Cooper? I would hope it would be, like his initials really were DC and he was right under our nose. There's fun things that you think about.
Do you think this case gets the attention it deserves?
No, 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 no. Uh, the fact that every time I say, well, the story of Dan Cooper, DB Cooper, I think if I were to say what percentage of America knows DB Cooper about DB Cooper, I would say it's probably around 15%. Now that's real America. Like that for people that I know, it's probably 40%. But real America is like 10 to 15%. To have the only unsolved hijacking in American history, uh, that when night turned to day for weeks and weeks and weeks, despite the fact that they knew where he jumped and what the trajectory of the wind was and where he should have been, and they couldn't find him. For the quality of the mystery that this is, probably does not get its due. It deserves to be up there with the Loch Ness monster.
I don't know if we're going to put it next to the Loch Ness Monster because this is real, but I definitely do agree with you on that.
Or Bigfoot. Yeah,
Bigfoot for sure. It's regionally
yeah,
right there. We got that.
yeah.
Okay, I've asked this question to quite a few of my guests. The true crime audience is primarily female. I would consider DB Cooper a true crime case, but the audience for this is overwhelmingly
Very
male.
male.
Why do you think that is?
Hmm. I think that again, it comes down to it being quote unquote victimless. A man wants to see himself in DB Cooper's shoes. He would want to be a cool cat who was just ready to, he had his plan and he was going to pull off the heist. And I don't think when I think women are voyeurs, I don't think they put themselves in the shoes of the people they're watching. And so I think that's what makes it different. That there's a fantasy in us all of imagine having the balls of this guy. And that fantasy makes it more skew more male than female.
Well said. I definitely agree with that. Speaking of the James Bond sort of superhero nature of this, what do you think of his name choice, Dan Cooper? Do you think it has anything to do with the comic book of the same name?
Um, I would like to think, as a conspiracy theorist, that that name was heavily planned out and that we still haven't figured it out. Yes, when you look at when I was at ESPN, I did a story on athletes and their fake names in hotels. And they used comic book characters and stuff, but they were like well-known comic book characters, right? Like the top, you know. Um, so I don't I would like to think that he used Dan Cooper for some reason that we still can't figure out. There's some sort of mad lib or unscrambling that we've yet to do. And hopefully, if we do one day find out who this is, we can learn of its truth.
All right, audience, get to work on that. So we'll figure that out. I'm transporting you to the Portland airport November 24th, 1971, and you have a ticket for Flight 305 in your hand. Do you stop the hijacking or do you go along for the ride?
Holy crap. Oh, is it guaranteed to end the way it did?
Most likely.
Yes, I'm going on the plane.
Why is that?
I want to see it. I want to see it go down. If I'm guaranteed to live and I know how the story's going to go, I'd like to get a live look at him. Now, obviously, we'd have to come up with some rules. Like I can't, it's almost like Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future. Like I can't affect time. So I cannot, if I agree to go on the plane, I can't stop anything else that goes on. But I would like to even just be an invisible observer to see everything, knowing what I know.
I'm with you 100%. I've fantasized about this countless times. And I would, as I'm exiting the plane in Seattle, I would want to say to him, "You're going to get away with this, bro." That's in my fantasy of riding along on
Yeah,
Flight
yeah,
305.
it's amazing, amazing.
All right. Is there any other questions you wanted me to ask you? A question you have for
No,
me
no,
before
no.
we?
Yeah, I hope I actually do hope that one day it is solved in some way. Who is this person? As long as that person is not alive, um, I would, if it is solved, I would be in contention with trying to collect the collectibles of that person if it exists. Um, so it would be really appropriate on the 55th anniversary this November for something to hit. I would absolutely love that for there to be a little bit more work to be done and someone's name to come out. I don't think anyone who has been put out there uh, so it would have to be an entirely new person. And I'm gonna say that it was if that person was I think that person was a parachutist who jumped during war and was an expert because no person in their right mind would ask for the front parachutes, the back. No one would have done that unless they were seriously trained. and I believe he was. Um, so I think that'll be the profile of someone if it does hit, that they were definitely uh, in war. They were definitely a parachutist. But other than that, I have no idea what would be next. But I do think it's better for all us DB Cooper fans and me as a collector for the story to change one more time, right? Like Kobayashi is beaten by Joey Chestnut, and then Joey Chestnut loses once, and then he's back. Like, I feel like right now people are kind of getting bored with the story, not us, but like the next layer. And in order for this story to catch fire again, we have to have a real name of even someone who might not be it, but is better than anyone before.
Very well said. I like that. And Darren, I really appreciate, I mean, I'd much rather that I was the steward of the collectibles that you have, but I do appreciate the care that you're taking and knowing that it's in good hands and that there's a growing collection in one place.
Yeah, I probably take it to too many places so that I could tell the story in front of people. It's probably irresponsible. I have taken it on planes, which makes me a little bit weird. It's very meta to take Bill Mitchell's ticket on the plane with me. Um, but I feel like I am a good steward, at least for the story and getting out there, and feel like for everyone who enjoys it, that I have the responsibility to tell the story to more and more people, kind of like DB Cooper Seed.
And if people want to check out what you got going on, where can we find you?
At Darren Rovell on Instagram and Twitter/X. That's probably the best way to. And if you want to DM me, obviously, you can do so on Instagram. So I'm all over social and have a lot of fun. And in and around November 24th, I'm always active.
Are you going to CooperCon?
I have not. It's just a very bad time of year for a guy with three kids. I have not gone, and one day I hope to go. If someone can guarantee me that they're presenting new evidence of someone who is better than any Cooper we've ever seen, I I might go. I might go.
Well, I've had 40 people guarantee me that exact phrase.
Yeah, I need to hear. I promise I won't give up the story. I need to hear the evidence.
All right. Well, we'll find you wherever you're at. And again, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Go follow Darren Rovell on X and Instagram at Darren Rovell on both, and check out all his cool stuff and see what he's up to. Links to all his stuff in the show notes. Do you have any cool DB Cooper memorabilia? Are there rumors in your family about Grandpa being DB Cooper? Do you know someone that would make a great guest? Hit us up. You can find us on X or Instagram or email us dbcooperpodcast@gmail.com. Links in the show notes for you. Thank you to Darren Rovell for sharing his Norjack collection with us. Thank you to Russell Colbert for not sharing his Crackerjack collection with us. Thank you to Darian Osodich for sharing his song with us. I'm Darren Schaefer, and thank you for listening to the Cooper Vortex.
Here's a story we all know about a man many years ago. Hijacked a plane, so we were told. Then he jumped into the cold. Lights are burning and a cigarette. He's in the air, the stage is set. Polite and kind, the people say it's time to make his getaway. This is how the story goes about the money and the man. DB Cooper, they call me now. Catch me if you can. Rolled up in his coat-built tie. He's got enough to change his life. Where he landed no one knows, but from his tale a legend grows. Was a cold, dark, rainy night. As he walked he saw light, held his cash close to his side. He just needs to catch a ride. This is how the story goes about the money and the man. D.B. Cooper, they call me now. Catch me if you can. Down to the bone, look for a place to use the phone. Little cafe outside of town. He walked in, he just sat down. Met a man with a cowboy hat, who told a friend right where he's at. Into the night he disappeared, and from that night a legend reared. This is how the story goes about the money and the man. D.B. Cooper, they call me now. Catch me if you can. 40 years, the secret's out. The story has been told. D.B. Cooper's done running now. He was 80